The first time he called me Mom again, I almost didn't answer. It was a quiet Tuesday evening, the kind where light slips out of the sky like sand through fingers. I stood at the kitchen sink, sleeves rolled up, watching the roses bloom stubbornly in the backyard. My phone buzzed on the counter. Unknown number. I hesitated. For 20 years, I'd learned not to expect miracles from unknown numbers. But something tightened in my chest anyway. I wiped my hands slowly on the towel, trying to wring out more than water. It rang again, and again. Finally, I picked up. Hello? Silence first, then a voice soft and uneven. Mum? 3 letters, 20 years of silence collapsing. My hands gripped the edge of the counter. I had imagined this moment countless ways, screaming, hanging up, or delivering a speech that cut us both. But reality wasn't like that. It was just me, standing in my kitchen, soap still drying on my wrists. I think you have the wrong number, I said, even though I knew I didn't. A shaky exhale came through the speaker. No, it's me. His voice had deepened with time, shaped differently by life. I would have recognized it anywhere. My eyes closed for a long moment, remembering the last time I had seen him. He had walked out of my front door with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, anger burning in his eyes. You made your choice, he had said. And I had. But choices, I now knew, were never simple. I didn't know if you'd pick up, he said. My breath trembled. You haven't given me much reason to, I replied quietly. Outside, the last light of day sank behind the trees. Traffic hummed faintly in the distance, but the kitchen felt suspended in time. I've been trying to work up to this. For years. Years. The word clung to me, bitter and fragile. I had celebrated birthdays without him, set an extra plate once, and then stopped. I had folded grief into ordinary days so it didn't show. You disappeared, I said, not accusing, just stating the truth. You changed your number, you moved, you told your father's side not to give me your address. He swallowed audibly. I know. The sky outside deepened into violet, and the roses swayed like nothing had changed. I thought about that night everything broke, about doors slammed, words that couldn't be taken back, and pride that built walls too high for either of us to climb. You said you didn't need me, I reminded him. I was 19, he said, voice cracking. I thought not needing you made me strong. We both had misunderstood strength back then. I sank slowly to the floor, back against the cabinet, the phone pressed to my ear. Why now? I asked. There was a long pause, deliberate. Finally, he said, I have a son. He turned 3 last week. My lungs emptied in one rush. Somewhere, a little boy with his eyes, maybe my stubborn chin, had been learning to walk and talk without me. I didn't call for help, he added quickly. I'm not in trouble. I just looked at him blowing out his candles and realized I haven't called mine in 20 years. The kitchen clock ticked, each second a reminder of lost time. I just needed to say it. Mom. The word came again, less fragile this time, more certain. I traced a crack in the ceiling paint. 20 years I had imagined him needing me, not to control or win, just to know what we had wasn't erased by one season of pride. You hurt me, I said, quietly, honestly. I know, he admitted. And you left, I said. I know. His voice carried the weight of years without a map back home. I thought you chose him over me, he said suddenly. I closed my eyes. I chose stability, I whispered. You saw betrayal. Silence, long enough to feel like winter, and then I was wrong. 20 years ago, that sentence might have changed everything. The roses outside caught the last streak of daylight before darkness settled fully. I pressed the phone closer, heart beating steady but heavy. You called me Mom, I said. Yeah, he replied. You don't get to say that and disappear again, I warned. His breath hitched. I'm not planning to. For the first time since the phone rang, I allowed myself to believe. Maybe this wasn't a ghost. Maybe it was a door, and maybe I was ready to walk through. Tell me about your son, I said, voice trembling but steady. He exhaled like someone finally home. Outside, the roses swayed, night settling gently around them. I listened to him talk, every word a stitch, slowly mending years of absence. The kitchen lights were soft, the floor cool beneath me, and for the first time in 2 decades, I felt that fragile, trembling hope, the kind that doesn't scream, doesn't demand, but just exists, persistent. A beginning, perhaps, or a continuation we had both been waiting for. I learned that he had lived in a small city, working long hours and saving every penny. His life had been full of ordinary routines, punctuated by moments he wanted to share, but didn't. I imagined him, cup of coffee in hand, staring at a photograph of a woman he barely remembered as a mother. Every day he had rehearsed words he never said, letters he never sent. I felt both pride and ache, knowing my absence had carved this path for him. Time, once our enemy, had become a strange companion, shaping him into someone I barely recognized. "I wanted to see you before he starts school," he said. "Before it's too late, before he thinks I can't have roots, before he forgets what family can be." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. A lifetime of missed holidays, birthdays, and milestones swirled between us, yet his words held a gentle urgency. I realized that even in the absence, the bond had not completely broken. It had stretched, thinned, but survived, and now it was asking to be acknowledged. He described his son, every detail meticulously: blonde hair, curious green eyes, a stubborn little jawline just like his father's. I imagined holding him, feeling the tiny fingers curl around mine. He laughed over the phone, telling me how his son had tried to build a fortress with cushions and chairs, determined to keep monsters out. The warmth in his voice was almost tangible. I found myself smiling, the years of silence melting a little, like ice under the morning sun. I had waited for this even if I didn't realize it. "I've made mistakes," he said, voice steady but layered with regret. "I've been selfish, proud, foolish, but I want to do better." Every word landed like a small hammer, breaking walls built from resentment and fear. I thought of all the arguments, all the times I had imagined the life we could have had, pain intertwined with relief, creating a strange, tender cocktail. "We can start now," I said softly. "We can." It felt fragile yet possible, like holding smoke in your hands, knowing it might slip but hoping it won't. He spoke of lonely nights, of wishing for a mother's voice on the phone, of the quiet ache that never left him. I listened, realizing that absence leaves an imprint deeper than punishment. "I always wondered if you remembered me," he confessed. "Every day," I admitted, my throat tight. The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was heavy with understanding. For the first time, I sensed a bridge forming, tenuous but present. Our shared history, painful and beautiful, was not erased. I told him about my life too, the days and nights spent raising my younger siblings after his father left, the sacrifices made, the choices that hardened my heart in some ways but opened it in others. He listened without interruption, absorbing details like a sponge soaking in warmth. I realized that though we had lost time, we had never truly lost each other. Life had molded us into strangers, and yet somehow into family at the same time. It was complicated, messy, and utterly real. We laughed at little things, stories from his childhood I had almost forgotten, memories of scraped knees and bedtime stories. The sound was cathartic, a balm for old wounds. We cried over other memories, missed milestones, harsh words, and the weight of years apart. Yet in every tear and laugh, there was a thread connecting us, fragile but undeniable. It reminded me that love, even fractured, does not vanish completely. It waits for a chance to be recognized and reclaimed. "I want to come see you," he said eventually, a tremor of hope in his voice, not to make up for lost time, but to start building it. My heart clenched. 20 years of longing, regret, and hope distilled into a single moment. I imagined the door opening, him standing there, tentative but certain. I thought about the kind of mother I wanted to be now, older, wiser, more patient and understanding. "I'll be here," I whispered, though I wasn't sure if he heard it or just felt it. We made tentative plans, discussed dates, and imagined the small, ordinary moments of life together. Morning coffee, walks in the park, sharing meals, and bedtime stories with his son. Every imagined scenario felt like both a dream and a promise. The distance seemed to shrink, and the possibility of reconnection filled the spaces left hollow for decades. I realized that hope had a peculiar power. It could make years disappear in a single, heartfelt conversation. By the time we hung up, night had fully settled outside. The kitchen was quiet, yet I felt a profound connection lingering in the air. The weight of lost time remained, but it was balanced by the anticipation of what could come. I sank into a chair, reflecting on the strange, fragile beauty of second chances. 20 years had taught us both lessons we could not have learned any other way, and now, finally, we were ready to see if love could reclaim its place. The day he arrived was sunny, almost as if the world had conspired to make it perfect. I opened the door and froze for a moment, the years of imagining this scene colliding with reality. There he was, taller, older, but unmistakably him, carrying a small suitcase and an anxious smile. His son clung to his hand, eyes wide with curiosity and a hint of shyness. I felt my chest tighten, a mixture of excitement, fear, and overwhelming love. Every step he took toward me felt like reclaiming lost years, every footfall echoing memories of laughter and tears. He embraced me first, and the hug was longer than I expected, as if our bodies instinctively knew the distance they had to make up. I held him tightly, breathing in the scent of familiarity and change, a mix of boyhood and adulthood. His son watched, fascinated, unsure of what to do, then cautiously stepped forward to hug me. My heart swelled, almost breaking, as the realization hit. This was real. We were here, together, bridging 2 decades of silence with something far stronger than words. We moved inside, the house suddenly alive with energy and tentative conversation. The boy asked endless questions, from where the sugar was to why my cat looked so grumpy. Laughter erupted, breaking the tension, filling the rooms that had known only quiet for so long. I noticed small similarities between father and son, gestures, expressions, the way they laughed at the same things. It was uncanny and heartwarming, a living testament to the thread of family that time had tried to sever but could not erase. Over lunch, we shared stories of our separate lives, weaving a tapestry of experiences that somehow complemented each other. He spoke of challenges, victories, and mundane details alike, and I found myself captivated by every word. His son chimed in with innocent observations, adding lightness and humor. I realized that these moments, ordinary yet profound, were the foundation of the relationship we were finally rebuilding. Time apart had left scars, but it had also prepared us to appreciate every small, fleeting joy with intensity. Later, we went for a walk in the nearby park, a place I had once visited with my own parents. The boy ran ahead, chasing pigeons, laughing freely, while I walked with his father. We talked quietly, not avoiding the past, but acknowledging it with honesty. "I was scared to see you," he admitted, "scared you wouldn't forgive me, or that I wouldn't recognize you anymore." I squeezed his hand, reassuring him with a gentle smile. "I've waited for this," I said softly. "And now, we start anew." We stopped by a small fountain where water splashed rhythmically, mirroring the cadence of our tentative conversation. He told me about his first job, his first apartment, and how he had learned to navigate life without a constant parental figure. I listened intently, marveling at his resilience and humility. I shared my own memories too, recounting moments of pride, mistakes, and lessons learned. The air between us felt lighter, as if honesty and vulnerability were dissolving years of distance in a single afternoon. As evening approached, we returned home, tired but content, the boy curled up on the couch with a book, occasionally glancing at us with a small smile. We sat together in the kitchen, sipping tea, talking about plans for the coming days. I realized that reconnection is not an event, but a series of small, intentional moments strung together with patience and care. Every story shared, Every laugh, every touch became a thread weaving us closer. He looked at me with a mix of gratitude and wonder, his eyes reflecting a deep appreciation for the chance to rebuild. "I never thought it would feel this right," he said. I nodded, unable to articulate the flood of emotions within me. "It's more than right," I whispered. "It feels like coming home." In that moment, I understood that forgiveness and love can coexist with pain and regret, transforming them into a foundation for something stronger, more enduring. The boy joined us, sitting between us on the couch, and I felt the fullness of family in that small, quiet gesture. We planned a few days together, imagining outings, shared meals, and bedtime stories that would become traditions. The simplicity of these plans felt revolutionary after years of absence and longing. I realized that the future was no longer an abstract concept, but a tangible reality we could shape together, one day at a time, one choice at a time. That night, as I watched him and his son sleep, I reflected on the journey that had led us here. The phone call 20 years ago had seemed impossible, and yet here we were, sharing space, stories, and laughter. I understood that love is not linear, it bends, stretches, and returns, often when least expected. And though the past cannot be erased, it can be honored, forgiven, and transformed into a path toward belonging and connection. The next morning, sunlight poured through the windows, casting a golden glow on the kitchen table where we sat together. Breakfast was a quiet affair at first, punctuated by soft laughter as the boy accidentally spilled his juice. I showed him how to clean it up, and he giggled at my exaggerated scolding, mimicking the same gestures his father once used. It was a small moment, almost mundane, but it held an incredible significance. Our lives intersecting in ways that had felt impossible just a day ago. I realized that these ordinary rituals, shared in comfort and care, were the first bricks in rebuilding trust and closeness. He watched me carefully as I poured the tea, a subtle smile tugging at his lips. "Mom, you haven't changed a bit," he said, and I laughed, though my chest tightened with emotion. Time had transformed us both, yet some essence, the heart of who we were to each other, had remained untouched. The boy looked on, fascinated by our interaction, absorbing the warmth and familiarity like a sponge. I thought about how children instinctively recognize love and safety, and it reminded me that this was the environment we needed to nurture for him and for ourselves. We decided to spend the day outdoors, walking through a nearby botanical garden, a place I had visited countless times, but never alone. Flowers of every hue surrounded us, their scent carrying memories of seasons past and moments long forgotten. The boy ran ahead, chasing butterflies, while I strolled behind, talking quietly with his father. Conversation flowed naturally now, no longer hesitant, filled with shared stories, laughter, and reflections. Each anecdote, whether joyful or sorrowful, strengthened the bridge we had begun to rebuild, cementing a connection that had survived decades of silence. At one point, we found a secluded bench under a large oak tree where the sunlight filtered through the leaves in dappled patterns. We sat side by side, watching the boy explore, and I realized how much I had missed this simple presence, the weight of shared space, the quiet understanding that comes without words. He opened up about his fears, his regrets, and his dreams, and I listened, offering gentle guidance, sometimes just holding space without interruption. It was a delicate dance of rediscovery, a merging of past and present, filled with tender moments that would shape our future together. The boy returned, a triumphant grin on his face, holding a small bouquet of wildflowers he had picked along the path. "For you, Mom," he said, his words innocent yet profound, and I felt tears well up unbidden. I knelt down to receive the flowers, inhaling their fragrance and the essence of this new beginning. He hugged me tightly, and I hugged him back, marveling at the ease with which love could bloom again, even after years of absence. His father watched silently, pride and emotion flickering across his features, and I knew that this was more than a day in the garden. It was a moment of restoration, of family reclaimed. We wandered further, discovering hidden paths and small streams, each turn offering another opportunity for laughter and connection. The boy skipped stones into the water, counting each one with glee, while his father and I exchanged knowing smiles, silently acknowledging the joy of shared moments. Conversation meandered effortlessly from childhood memories to current challenges to hopes for the future, each topic deepening our understanding of each other. I realized that time apart had not erased the bond. It had simply reshaped it, making every shared word, every glance, more precious. By late afternoon, fatigue began to settle in, but our hearts were full. We found a quiet spot beneath a willow tree, its branches swaying gently in the breeze, and simply rested, watching the sunlight dance on the water. The boy leaned against his father, sleepy yet content, and I felt an overwhelming gratitude for the chance to witness this peace. The past, with all its mistakes and regrets, seemed to melt away in these quiet, profound moments. We were no longer 2 decades apart. We were present together, and that was everything. As we walked back toward the car, hand in hand, the boy asked questions about everything he had seen, and we answered patiently, encouraging his curiosity. His father laughed at his endless energy, and I joined in, delighting in the simple joys of the day. I reflected on how the past 20 years had been a test of patience, of resilience, and ultimately of love that endures despite distance. The day had reminded me that relationships are not measured in time apart, but in the depth of connection forged when we are truly present. That night, as we shared dinner, conversation flowed effortlessly, touching on everything from favorite meals to childhood memories to future plans. Laughter echoed through the house, a sound that had been absent for far too long, filling empty spaces with warmth. The boy recounted his adventures in the garden, embellishing details with boundless imagination, and we listened, captivated by his joy. His father and I exchanged glances, silently acknowledging the miracle of ordinary moments turned extraordinary by the love that had endured. Before bedtime, we gathered in the living room, the boy curled up with a storybook while his father and I sipped tea, reflecting on the day. "I can't believe how natural this feels," he said softly, eyes glistening. I smiled, knowing that it was because love had never truly left, only waited patiently for our reunion. We spoke of the coming days, of adventures yet to be had, and I realized that the process of reconnection was continuous, built on trust, patience, and the willingness to embrace the past while moving forward. As I turned off the lights, I felt a profound sense of peace, knowing that we were finally whole again. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains, painting the room with a warm glow, and the boy was already up, excitedly planning the day ahead. His energy was infectious, filling the house with laughter as he bounced from room to room, reminding me of how vibrant life can feel when shared with those you love. We decided to take him to the local museum, a place full of wonders and stories, hoping it would spark his imagination and offer moments of connection beyond words. On the way, we talked about everything from dinosaurs to planets, and I marveled at how curiosity could bridge years of absence so effortlessly. The car ride was filled with laughter and playful debates, moments that seemed trivial but held immense significance in rebuilding our bond. Upon arrival, the boy darted toward the exhibits, eyes wide with awe, and I followed, smiling at his excitement. He stopped at every display, pointing out details, asking endless questions, and sharing his own interpretations, which often made us laugh. His father and I exchanged glances, silently acknowledging how much we had missed these moments, and how much they meant to us now. Walking through the museum together felt like rediscovering the world through his eyes, a reminder that joy can be found in the simplest things when experienced with love. We lingered in the science section, experimenting with interactive displays, laughing at each failed attempt, celebrating small victories together. The art gallery section captured his attention next, and he wandered from painting to painting, absorbing colors and stories with a quiet intensity that surprised me. He asked questions about the artists, their lives, and the emotions behind each work, and I did my best to answer, though sometimes we simply speculated together. I realized that this curiosity, this desire to understand, was something we could nurture and encourage, strengthening not only his mind, but our growing bond. Each exhibit became a conversation, each painting a shared experience, weaving our lives together in a way that words alone could not achieve. Even his father seemed to relax, smiling at the boy's excitement, a reminder that joy can soften hearts and heal old wounds. After hours in the museum, we found a quiet bench and shared a snack, the boy recounting his favorite parts with uncontainable enthusiasm. His energy had not waned, and we laughed as he animatedly reenacted scenes and explanations, bringing the exhibits to life in ways we hadn't anticipated. I watched him, amazed at his imagination and perspective, realizing that this day was not just an outing, it was a bridge spanning decades of distance. Every laugh, every shared insight, every question answered built layers of trust and closeness that had once seemed unreachable. This was the process of rediscovery, of learning each other anew, and I treasured every second of it. As we left the museum, the sky was tinged with the warm hues of late afternoon, and we decided to take a walk in a nearby park to extend the day's adventures. The boy ran ahead, stopping to examine every flower, rock, and bird, his sense of wonder contagious. I walked behind him with his father, talking quietly, reflecting on the journey that had brought us to this moment. The distance of 20 years, the pain and longing seemed to soften in the face of shared experiences, of presence, of love manifest in everyday actions. We watched the boy chase a butterfly, laughing as he tried to catch it gently, and in that moment, I realized that joy, patience, and connection were the keys to healing. We came across a small pond, and the boy immediately began tossing pebbles into the water, counting the ripples as they spread outward. "Mom, look, each ripple is like a story," he said, and I smiled, realizing how much wisdom children hold in their innocence. His father joined in, and soon we were all laughing at the splashes and counting ripples together, a simple game that had become profoundly meaningful. Moments like these reminded me that life's beauty lies not in grand gestures, but in shared, authentic experiences. We lingered there until the sun began to dip lower, casting long shadows and bathing the scene in a golden light. On the way home, the boy fell asleep in the car, exhausted from excitement yet content, and I watched him with a heart full of gratitude. His father reached over and held my hand, a silent acknowledgement of how far we had come and how this day had shifted something fundamental in all of us. I reflected on the journey, 20 years apart, yet here we were, sharing simple joys, building trust, and rediscovering love that had never truly left. The weight of the past seemed lighter now, replaced by the promise of tomorrow, of days filled with laughter, learning, and togetherness. I felt a sense of peace, knowing that these small, ordinary moments were the foundation of an extraordinary bond. That evening, as we prepared dinner together, the boy insisted on helping, eager to chop vegetables and stir sauces with meticulous care. We worked side by side, laughter and chatter filling the kitchen, and I noticed how naturally he fit into our routines, how easily he became part of our lives. Each task, from setting the table to washing dishes, became a shared experience, reinforcing connection and trust. I watched him carefully measure ingredients, proud of his diligence, and realized that nurturing responsibility and independence could coexist beautifully with love and affection. These moments of collaboration and care were teaching us all the art of presence, patience, and mutual respect. After dinner, we gathered in the living room, the boy sprawled on the floor with his toys, while his father and I shared a quiet conversation. We reflected on the day, our hearts full, and I felt a profound sense of gratitude for this second chance, for the opportunity to reclaim family and connection. The boy occasionally chimed in with observations, and we laughed at his insightful yet humorous commentary, marveling at his ability to capture the essence of life with honesty. I realized that this process, of being present, attentive, and engaged, was far more powerful than anything else we could do to repair the past. We were building memories one day at a time that would last a lifetime. Before bedtime, the boy cuddled up with his favorite blanket, exhausted but happy, and I read him a story, his eyes gradually closing as the words lulled him to sleep. His father sat beside me, sharing quiet smiles and gentle conversation, a reminder that we were creating a new rhythm, a new normal, built on love and commitment. I kissed the boy's forehead, feeling an overwhelming sense of fulfillment, and realized that despite the pain of the past, we had arrived at a place of healing and hope. Life, with all its twists and turns, had brought us back together, stronger and more connected than ever before. And as I turned off the lights, I knew that the journey of rediscovery was just beginning, filled with infinite possibilities. The following morning, sunlight streamed through the kitchen window, casting a gentle glow over the breakfast table as the boy eagerly recounted his dreams from the night before. His imagination was boundless, a vivid mix of fantastical adventures and everyday observations, and I found myself laughing at the cleverness in his stories. We sat together, spooning cereal and swapping smiles, and I realized how precious these ordinary moments were, how they quietly stitched our hearts together. His father joined in with playful commentary, teasing and laughing alongside us, and the house felt alive with warmth and connection. Every word, every gesture seemed infused with the significance of reclaiming lost time, of slowly building a family bond once fractured by distance. After breakfast, the boy insisted on taking a walk through the neighborhood park, pointing out every bird, flower, and curious insect along the way. I followed, watching his excitement and curiosity, and felt a deep appreciation for the wonder he brought into our lives. We talked about everything, from school lessons to superhero powers, to the way clouds could look like animals if you used your imagination, and I marveled at how effortlessly he invited joy into each conversation. His father walked beside us, sharing quiet laughter and gentle stories from his own childhood, creating bridges between past and present. We paused by the old oak tree, and the boy climbed carefully, laughing as he reached the low-hanging branches, and I felt a swell of pride at his adventurous spirit. Sitting beneath the tree, we shared a picnic of sandwiches and fruit, enjoying the simplicity of the day and the unspoken connection growing between us. The boy chatted endlessly, switching topics as easily as the breeze shifted leaves above us, and I realized how natural it felt to be present with him. His father and I exchanged glances, a silent acknowledgement that these moments were the very essence of family: presence, laughter, and shared experience. As he finished his snack, he asked us to tell stories from when we were children, eager to hear about the world before he arrived. We obliged, recounting funny mishaps and treasured memories, watching his eyes widen in amazement, and seeing curiosity spark new questions. After the picnic, we wandered along the path, stopping occasionally to collect fallen leaves, smooth stones, or interesting twigs, each small discovery turning into a story of its own. The boy's imagination transformed the ordinary into the extraordinary, and I found myself swept up in his perspective, laughing at the ways he connected the tiniest details into grand adventures. We shared riddles and jokes, and even when he stumped us, we marveled at his cleverness and praised his ingenuity. His father offered gentle guidance when needed, blending humor and authority, modeling a balance of care and discipline. We watched as other children played nearby, and the boy eagerly joined in, his social confidence growing with every interaction. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, we returned home, tired but energized by the day's activities, and the boy immediately set about drawing pictures of everything he had seen. He narrated each scene as he drew, filling the pages with animals, trees, and imaginative creatures that seemed to leap off the paper. His father and I admired his artwork, asking questions and praising his attention to detail, which encouraged him to keep creating with excitement. Every shared comment, every burst of laughter over a funny doodle strengthened the bond that had begun to flourish between us. It was clear that through creativity, exploration, and curiosity, we were learning to communicate in ways deeper than words. Dinner that evening was filled with chatter, laughter, and the boy insisting on helping with cooking, as though he had discovered a new world within our home. He chopped vegetables carefully under supervision, stirred sauces with exaggerated care, and proudly declared the dishes complete when we tasted them. His joy was infectious, and his father and I found ourselves fully immersed in the shared tasks, enjoying the rhythm of collaboration. We talked about our day, about the discoveries and adventures, and the boy reflected thoughtfully on what he had learned. Each moment of engagement, whether playful or instructive, felt like a building block for the foundation of trust and love we had longed to create. After dinner, we cleaned up together, the boy eagerly taking on small chores and celebrating each completed task with animated cheers. I realized that these moments of shared responsibility were teaching him independence while also reinforcing the feeling of family unity. His father helped guide him gently, showing pride in his efforts while offering encouragement for improvement. By the time dishes were washed and put away, the boy was beaming with satisfaction, his heart and ours full with the satisfaction of teamwork. We settled into the living room, the boy curling up with a storybook as I read aloud, his father listening and laughing along with the narrative. These quiet evenings, filled with simple pleasure and attentive presence, were more meaningful than any grand gesture could have been. As bedtime approached, the boy insisted on a bedtime ritual of hugs, kisses, and recounting the day's favorite moments. Each story he told was rich with detail, often blending reality with imagination, and we listened intently, celebrating his observations and creativity. His father and I exchanged quiet smiles, recognizing how remarkable it was to witness him grow, to see the pieces of our past hurt transform into present joy. I kissed his forehead, feeling the warmth of unconditional love, a love that had endured years of separation and now found expression in these small but profound daily acts. The ritual became a sacred space of connection, trust, and reassurance, reinforcing that family could be rebuilt, stronger than before. Once the boy was asleep, I sat quietly beside his father, reflecting on the journey we were taking together, how far we had come, how fragile yet resilient relationships could be, and how patience, love, and presence were healing old wounds. We talked softly about hopes for the future, imagining trips, shared hobbies, and countless simple moments filled with laughter. The silence between us was comfortable, a sign that trust and understanding had taken root. I realized that the joy of parenting was not just in grand milestones, but in the cumulative effect of ordinary days spent together with intentional love. The night felt full of promise, the quiet peace wrapping around us like a warm embrace, a testament to the bond we were nurturing. And as I finally turned off the lights and closed my eyes, I carried with me the vivid images of the day, his laughter, his questions, his imagination, and the sense of family restored. I understood that while the past could not be erased, it could be transformed, reshaped through patience, presence, and unwavering love. Each day was a new opportunity to build memories, deepen trust, and celebrate the boy who had finally called me Mom. And in that moment, I felt an overwhelming gratitude for the journey we were on, for the small victories and shared joys that marked the path toward healing, connection, and a love that had finally come home. The next morning began with the boy bursting into the room with a flurry of excitement, his eyes sparkling with anticipation for another day of discovery. He had dreams to recount, ideas to share, and questions that seemed endless, and I welcomed each one with patience and curiosity. His energy was contagious, filling the house with laughter and movement as he darted from room to room, eager to explore and engage. Breakfast was a lively affair, with spilled cereal and shared giggles, and I realized how these simple routines had become the foundation of our connection. His father joined us, pouring coffee and offering teasing commentary that made the boy laugh until he nearly fell off his chair. After breakfast, we decided to tackle a small home project together, a birdhouse that the boy had wanted to build for weeks. Tools, nails, and paint were spread across the kitchen table, and he handled each with a combination of concentration and playful creativity. We guided him gently, encouraging independence while ensuring safety, and I marveled at his determination and attention to detail. His father and I traded glances, silently acknowledging that these hands-on moments were just as meaningful as storytelling or shared meals. The boy worked tirelessly, adding personal touches, decorating the birdhouse with bright colors, and proudly announcing its completion. He insisted we place it outside together, a symbol of their effort, teamwork, and the small joys of shared achievement. Once the birdhouse was hung, we stepped back to admire it, and the boy's pride was palpable. his grin stretching from ear to ear. He ran his fingers over the carefully painted edges, making sure every corner was perfect, and I praised his diligence and creativity. His father shared a story of how he had built a similar project as a child, and the boy listened intently, eyes wide with curiosity. We talked about how small efforts could create lasting memories and meaningful change, a lesson he absorbed eagerly. Each interaction, each word of encouragement helped cement a sense of belonging, trust, and shared purpose that had been missing for years. Later in the morning, we took a walk through the nearby woods, collecting sticks, leaves, and other treasures for an art project the boy had imagined. His excitement was infectious, and we found ourselves marveling at his ability to see beauty and possibility in even the simplest objects. He shared stories about each item, inventing characters and adventures that transformed the walk into a living storybook. His father and I contributed ideas, laughing and collaborating with him, building a shared narrative that strengthened our bond. Every step seemed to weave our lives closer together, filling the gaps left by years of absence with creativity, engagement, and love. As we returned home, the boy immediately set to work assembling his finds into a creative display, narrating every choice and explaining how each piece contributed to his vision. He asked for our input, our suggestions, and our praise, which we gave freely, fostering confidence and a sense of accomplishment. His father joined him in the creative process, offering ideas while stepping back to let the boy lead, a perfect balance of guidance and freedom. I observed quietly, filled with admiration for the boy's ingenuity and the ease with which our family unit was forming. By the time the project was complete, the boy was beaming, proud not only of his creation, but also of the shared experience that had made it possible. Lunch was a lively affair, filled with chatter about the morning's adventures and plans for the afternoon, and the boy insisted on helping set the table. His father and I watched with amusement and pride as he carefully arranged plates and utensils, insisting on symmetry and color coordination. Each small act of participation felt monumental, a tangible expression of his growing sense of belonging. We ate together, sharing stories, jokes, and reflections on the day, and the boy's laughter rang out like music, echoing the joy of reconnection. After lunch, he insisted on reading a book aloud, taking dramatic pauses and voices for different characters, keeping us enthralled and entertained. The afternoon brought a visit from a few of the boy's friends, and I watched with fascination as he navigated social interactions, sharing toys, taking turns, and collaborating on games. His confidence and warmth shone, a testament to the nurturing environment we were creating together. His father and I observed quietly, offering guidance only when necessary, proud of the boy's growing independence and empathy. Laughter and play filled the house, and I realized that these moments, though seemingly ordinary, were shaping his character and reinforcing our family bond. After the friends left, the boy recounted every detail with enthusiasm, reliving every laugh and triumph as though it were a grand adventure. Later, we prepared a special dinner together, choosing recipes, chopping ingredients, and cooking side by side. The boy took great pride in each task, asking questions, offering suggestions, and celebrating small victories with exuberance. His father guided him gently, teaching techniques while allowing room for creativity and experimentation. I marveled at the transformation in the boy, how trust, patience, and love could nurture not only skills, but also confidence and joy. When dinner was ready, we sat down together, savoring both the food and the shared effort that had brought it to life. The boy eagerly recounted his favorite moments of the day, connecting them to lessons he had learned and memories he wanted to preserve. After dinner, we enjoyed a quiet evening, the boy curling up with a favorite storybook while I read aloud, his father listening and occasionally joining in with dramatic voices. The room was filled with warmth, laughter, and a sense of completeness, as if the day's adventures had stitched invisible threads of connection through each of us. We discussed dreams, hopes, and plans for future adventures, reinforcing a sense of continuity and shared purpose. The boy eventually drifted off to sleep, exhausted but happy, his gentle breathing a reminder of the comfort and safety he now felt. His father and I lingered a moment longer, savoring the calm, reflecting on the joy of these ordinary yet extraordinary days. As I closed the door to his room, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the journey we were on, for the boy who had finally called me Mom, and for the opportunity to rebuild what had been lost. I understood that the bond we shared was fragile yet resilient, shaped by patience, love, and everyday moments of presence. Each day brought new challenges and new victories, small and large, and I embraced them all with an open heart. The promise of countless more shared mornings, afternoons, and evenings filled me with hope, and I knew that this family, though once fractured, was healing in ways deeper than words. The morning light spilled through the curtains, gently waking me as I listened to the quiet hum of the house, knowing that another day of bonding awaited us. The boy stirred in his bed, eyes blinking open with curiosity and a hint of mischief, eager to begin yet another adventure in his newly rekindled life with us. I moved to his side, brushing back his hair and smiling as he stretched, excited to share his plans for the day, his energy a spark that ignited the house. Breakfast was lively as always, a blend of spilled milk, playful teasing, and shared laughter, and I marveled at how these small routines had become anchors of our connection. His father joined us, pouring coffee and exchanging gentle banter that made the boy giggle uncontrollably, the sound of his laughter filling the room like music. After breakfast, the boy insisted on helping with a gardening project we had planned, a small vegetable patch he wanted to grow from seeds he had chosen himself. He knelt in the dirt, hands covered in soil, carefully planting each seed with focus and dedication, his imagination turning the tiny plot into a magical kingdom of growth and possibility. We guided him gently, showing how to water and care for each plant, and his father and I exchanged a knowing glance, proud of the lessons in patience, responsibility, and nurturing that he was learning. The boy named each seed as he planted it, giving them personalities, stories, and roles in his imaginary kingdom, and we played along, enhancing the magic with our own creative ideas. By the time the last seed was planted, the boy stepped back, surveying his work with pride and satisfaction, a small smile of accomplishment on his face. Later, he insisted on making a scrapbook of memories, gathering photographs, ticket stubs, and drawings from the past week, carefully arranging them with scissors and glue. He narrated each choice, explaining the importance of every memory, his father and I listening with admiration and contributing stories to fill in the blanks. The activity became a ritual of reflection and bonding, a tangible chronicle of the experiences that were shaping his young life and our renewed family. His creativity shone as he added decorative touches, stickers, and little captions, each one infused with thought and emotion. By the time the scrapbook was complete, he held it up with a sense of accomplishment, pride, and ownership, a tangible reminder of the love and attention surrounding him. After lunch, we embarked on a small outing to a nearby park, where the boy could run, climb, and explore, releasing energy while learning about nature and the joy of physical activity. He raced ahead, calling out for us to follow, and we did, laughing and enjoying his uncontainable enthusiasm. His father lifted him onto swings, pushing gently while he squealed with delight, and I joined in, pushing another swing with rhythmic consistency, feeling the simple joy of shared moments. As we walked along trails and paths, he collected rocks, leaves, and flowers, narrating stories about each one, transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary with his vivid imagination. We watched as his creativity and curiosity expanded, realizing that these small interactions were shaping his confidence, empathy, and problem-solving skills. Back home, he turned his attention to building a model airplane, a project he had been looking forward to for weeks, his hands steady and precise as he followed the instructions carefully. His father guided him through challenging steps, offering tips while allowing the boy to take the lead, a balance of support and independence that reinforced trust and capability. I observed quietly, filled with admiration for his perseverance, focus, and determination, proud of the patience and skill he demonstrated in completing complex tasks. By the end of the afternoon, the model airplane stood fully assembled, a symbol of achievement and collaborative effort, and he beamed with pride as we all applauded. His laughter and excitement filled the house, reinforcing the joy and sense of belonging that had become the core of our days together. Dinner preparations were a collaborative effort, the boy choosing ingredients and helping chop vegetables, stir sauces, and taste test flavors with great enthusiasm. His father and I guided him gently, ensuring safety while encouraging creativity and independence, marveling at how confidently he navigated each task. We talked and laughed, sharing stories about favorite meals, childhood memories, and hopes for future culinary experiments, the kitchen alive with warmth and connection. The boy's joy in contributing to the meal created a sense of pride and inclusion, reinforcing the bond that had been missing for so many years. By the time dinner was served, he was practically glowing with accomplishment, and the shared satisfaction made the meal taste even better. After dinner, we gathered around the living room for a family game, a mixture of board games and imaginative storytelling, each turn filled with laughter, strategy, and playful competition. The boy's eyes sparkled with excitement as he competed fairly, demonstrating empathy when others won and celebrating victories with humility. His father and I cheered him on, offering encouragement and praise, reinforcing the values of teamwork, patience, and joy in shared experiences. The game ended with a group hug, the boys' laughter echoing through the house, a reminder that connection was the greatest victory of all. Later, he insisted on writing a letter to a friend, carefully choosing words and illustrating it with drawings, a reflection of his creativity, thoughtfulness, and desire to nurture relationships. As night fell, the boy curled up with a favorite storybook, and I read aloud, adding voices, pauses, and drama that kept him enthralled until his eyelids grew heavy. His father joined in occasionally, contributing dramatic flair and humor that kept the bedtime routine engaging and warm. The room was filled with calm, comfort, and security, a sanctuary after a day of adventures, creativity, and shared learning. We kissed him goodnight, lingering a moment to savor the peaceful rhythm of his breathing and the contentment in his expression. After closing the door, his father and I sat in quiet reflection, marveling at the resilience, joy, and love that had flourished in the space of our reunited family. Finally, as I prepared for bed myself, I thought about how each day was a layer of connection, trust, and love, being carefully built, brick by brick, memory by memory. I understood that these ordinary moments, the laughter, meals, projects, and stories, were shaping the boy's character and our family in ways more profound than grand gestures ever could. Each small victory, creative project, and shared laugh was a testament to the power of presence, patience, and love. I felt a deep gratitude for this journey, for the chance to nurture, guide, and love a child who had finally called me Mom, and for the future that held countless more days of discovery, laughter, and connection. The quiet of the night settled around the house, wrapping it in a calm that contrasted sharply with the laughter and activity of the day. I tiptoed past the boy's room one last time, watching him sleep peacefully, chest rising and falling in a steady rhythm, a picture of innocence and contentment. It struck me how far we had come, from years of separation and uncertainty to these nights filled with security, warmth, and belonging. His trust, once tentative and fragile, had grown into a bond that was unshakable, built on patience, love, and the small but profound moments of shared life. I paused, letting gratitude wash over me, a quiet acknowledgement that this reunion was not just a second chance for him, but for all of us, a chance to heal and flourish together. The memories of the past 20 years lingered like shadows at the edges of my mind, each one a reminder of the struggles we had faced and the resilience it had required. Yet those shadows were softened by the brightness of the present, his laughter, his curiosity, his endless questions about the world. Every hug, every shared story, every gentle correction and patient lesson reinforced that the distance we had endured had only made the reconnection richer, more meaningful. I reflected on the long journey, the years of longing and hope, the silent prayers that he would one day call me Mom, And now, that hope was reality, tangible and alive in every smile and word. I sat down in the living room, flicking through the scrapbook he had made, tracing the memories we had collected together, marveling at how a simple book could hold so much love. Each page told a story, not just of events, but of the care, attention, and joy that had built our bond. His drawings, his notes, the way he had labeled every memory. It all spoke of a child who felt safe, cherished, and proud of the connection we had forged. I realized that the value of these moments could never be measured in time alone. It was in the depth of the feeling, the quality of attention, the love that had gone into every interaction. Looking ahead, I understood that this was only the beginning. There would be challenges, disagreements, and days when patience would be tested, but there would also be triumphs, growth, and countless small victories that would continue to knit us together. I felt a profound sense of purpose, knowing that I had the privilege of shaping his world, guiding him with love, and witnessing the unfolding of his unique story. The bond we had rebuilt in just a few months was a testament to the power of connection, the resilience of the heart, and the enduring capacity for love to heal. As I finally turned off the lights and prepared for rest, a calm certainty settled over me. This was where I belonged, and he was where he was meant to be. In the quiet, I whispered a promise to myself and to him that every day, every hour, every small act of love would matter, that I would be there to guide, nurture, and celebrate him. And in my heart, I felt it. After 20 years apart, he had finally called me Mom, and that single word carried a lifetime of meaning, a bridge across time, and a beginning that would never end.